Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the nerdiest competition ever created by the Language of Bromance team. In this corner, obsessed with Star Wars and anything with swords, Richard! And in this corner, obsessed with the Ninja Turtles and scared of anything from the ocean, Shion! Brought to you as a Pod Bros exclusive in association with the LOB Army. Tonight's competition is a Language of Bromance draft.
What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I am Sean.
And we're speaking. Sean is very aggressively speaking the language of bromance. Sean, why are you so angry?
Because this isn't a bromance, this is a fomance.
Oh.
Because we're doing the childhood nostalgia censorship. Because you can't say bitches, I guess, if we're talking about childhood nostalgia.
Well, you can. I guess it depends on what kind of childhood you had.
Oh, that's a good point. Aww.
Some kids, it's not so good.
Mom, I know what I want to be when I grow up. What if you can't do that? So what we're doing today, we're doing the childhood nostalgia draft. So what we're going to be doing with this is picking moments, movies, video games, anything that, to me, what I'm looking at is anything that I look at and it just like instantly I become 8 to 12 to, I'm a kid again. The worries of life are gone and I'm just, a kid.
Yeah, the things that bring out the kid in you. The things that you see and instantly even for a split second, you're transported back to that time when you were young and you were innocent and you just loved things for the sake of what they were.
So if you haven't heard, I'm sure you've seen these before, but this is our 13th draft ever.
Lucky 13.
They're NFL style, so each of us will pick 7 childhood nostalgia things. We flip-flop on the picks. On the very first draft, we flipped a penny and I won, so I get the odd drafts. And this is an odd draft, so I get the first pick. So, Richard, unless you have anything to throw out there, I will go ahead and start this bad boy off.
No, you please. I mean, ladies first. I feel like, as per usual, I always feel like I have the superior list. I feel like almost every draft you should pick first, just because I feel like it's like one arm tied behind my back at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's one hand tied behind your back and the other one stroking up and down on a sword, right? Isn't that how that works?
I gotta hate you.
Well, you're going to hate me even more because my first pick involves a lightsaber.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. I'm just kidding. So my first pick, I was trying to think of something that whenever I look at it, like I'm a kid again, obviously, something that you see in I'm that kid with the hands on his, cheeks staring at the TV and just kind of, brains going and like melting in with whatever I'm seeing on the screen. And I am going to go with the movie, The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I'm going to go with the sequel, The Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, okay. Well, at least this wasn't 3 when they're
in Japan.
When they're in Japan.
Well, this movie was a little bit more lighthearted. I feel like I watched this one a lot more when I was younger because the first one there's a little bit more cursing, it's a little bit more violent. But this one you had the opening scene of everybody's eating pizza and the one kid comes over and delivers pizza to the guys because they're living with April now. You get the greatest scene ever with Toka and Razor.
Toka! Razor! Attack!
Attack me if you must, but when it's over, you will call me Master. Mama? Ah, mama.
Babies.
Uh,
Oh my god.
I feel like I only watched like the first 35 to 40 minutes, like about that part. But it's
They're not stupid.
donk. Well, they may be a little stupid.
What was it? It was like they're not stupid. They're like infants.
Yeah. Okay, they're stupid infants. But I mean, growing up, I had this on VHS, and whenever I could pry the VHS away from my sister, this would be the one I'd watch. I think it was on USA a lot too. And we watched a shit ton of USA when I was a kid.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah. It does have that made-for-TV feel, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you had the Raphael character taking the human kid and be like, hey, you can go get him and be part of the team. And it's like, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. I can do anything. Mom, I'm gonna be a ninja. Ow, Mom.
Aww. Sean's childhood was a sad time.
My second pick is The Shining. It reminds me of my childhood.
Aww.
But I love the cartoon growing up, and we all know how big of a fan I am of Turtles. So this was Turtles in real life. And again, the first one was a little too violent probably for my age because it came out in 91, so I was like 5. This came out a year or two later, so I was like 7 or 8. So old enough to really kind of like see it and understand it and not just be like, oh, there's turtles on TV. Oh my God.
Right. I'm sure you did that anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, I still do that.
Well, see, and that's the whole point of this list. Like, okay, so if let's say we get done recording this episode and you go and you sit in your living room and put in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, is there going to be a moment or a lot of moments, considering it's your number one, is there going to be a lot of moments where you're sitting there and you're 8 years old again watching that movie? Like, do you get just as excited watching that movie now as you did when you were, 10?
Yeah, if not more so. Because years ago, I bought, they came out with, the Blu-ray pack, which was really just basically the DVD on Blu-ray. Like, they didn't really enhance it a ton.
Okay.
And I kind of had the thoughts, I'm going to pop this in, and I'm going to be like, oh, this is a lot campier than I thought. But no, I popped it in, and instantly, hands on the chin, big smile on my face, the eyes go bright.
That's awesome.
And you just kind of lose yourself for about an hour and a half. It's not on my list, but it kind of relates. So I've only seen one Ninja Turtle movie or I've seen 2 Ninja Turtle movies in theaters.
Okay.
I saw the cartoon that came out 2006, 2007.
I was with you for that.
I saw that 2 or 3 times, and
we saw that the first time together. And you know what? That one wasn't bad.
No, it was
the
good.
animation style was good. The story was good. The story was cohesive. And I mean, spoilers, but there wasn't even the Shredder in that. They didn't even have him as the villain.
But when I went and first saw that movie, I had all those oh my God, this is, we talk about Star Wars and things like that with you. That was my Star Wars moment. And then you fast forward to when I'm 28 and the new Turtles come out. That was kind of my Jar Jar Binks.
Fair enough. I think that you took this one a lot harder than I took the Jar Jar Binks. Because you say what you. Because my thing is, when it comes to episode 1, you say what you will, but I felt like episode 1 had some redeeming qualities to it. I have not, based on your recommendation, I have not seen the Ninja Turtles movie.
And there's no reason to. It is god awful.
So I would still say, if you said to me, Richard, should I watch episode 1, The Phantom Menace? I would say, yeah, it's worth watching. It's worth watching once. It's got some Darth Maul's in it. He does some cool shit in there.
Yeah.
There's some cool kick-ass moments in there.
And you're like, Sean, should I watch the Ninja Turtles movie? I'm like, no. They learn their skills from a book.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So The Notebook, then, that's what you're saying. Okay, I'll watch The Notebook.
So between the two of us, I still have a very pure, innocent version of the Ninja Turtles in my head. Much purer than you, and you're the fan.
That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we're talking about childhood nostalgia, so I'm gonna go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 2: Secret of the Ooze as my palate cleanser for the Turtles.
That's fair. That's the movie that, that's a movie for you that, like you said, you're 8 years old watching that movie. Okay. All right. For me, I feel like this is no surprise, but for me, number one, and I'm not picking this because I'm afraid you're going to steal it. I feel like we've established that kind of rapport as people.
If I take this pick, I'm just a dick at some point.
Yeah, right? I would hate you. I'd be like, we're not doing no more drafts. We're done here. If you pick this, I would have picked the Turtles on my next one straight, just out of spite. My first pick, of course, is Star Wars. And I sit and I try and think about specific, like if there's a specific moment where I feel more as a kid than any other moment in the course of all those movies. And I would it's honestly hard to pin down because I've seen if we're talking about the original trilogy, I have seen episodes 4, 5, and 6. I can't even explain to you how many times. I would say that I've at least watched all of them once a year. At least once a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say you told us you watch it at least once a year, maybe. And
maybe more.
Is there a specific time of year when you're like, I need to put this in, or is it just like you feel a disturbance in the force and you're like, well, it's been.
You know what? I think that's it. Like, because it does kind. There isn't a specific time where it's just usually every like 6 months or 8 months or even 8 or 9 months where I'm. It's almost it's hard to explain. It's just I get this like, you know what, like. You just kind of scroll. You're kind of you're bored. You're looking for something to watch, and so you go to the old DVD library and you're flipping through, and you're like, oh hey, there's these. I actually I had the VHS cassettes. I stole them off of my parents. My parents recorded them off of TV back when I was young. I mean, this is when it was that whole like, oh, VHS, you can record things off of television on VHS. Like, ooh, it was like, early days of piracy. So my dad recorded the trilogy on VHS. And so that was my first experience was watching it. I was at home. I was in my house. I was like probably like 7 years old or something like that. And I was, bored and I was looking, I wanted something to watch and I'm going through the video cassettes and there it is. And I actually started with The Empire Strikes Back. That was the first one I found. So that was the first one I watched. And I watched that movie, and I'm sure the first time I watched it, my eyes just... It was like in those animes where their eyes go really wide and kind of glass up. Like, that was me. And there are moments in those movies where that is me. I sit there and I glass up. I've seen those movies I don't know how many times, and there are still moments where, like, if there's noise going on in the house, I'm like, shh, this is a good part. It's not like I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? But I do. I'm 8 years old. I'm totally transported back to being 7, 8 years old, sitting in my living room watching these movies that honestly, to a point, I feel define me as a person. Like my wife, I don't remember. I think it was like a month ago. Because I did. I kind of got in this, oh, I need to sit and watch the trilogy again. So I sat down and my wife's like, what is it? She's like, I'm not judging you, but what is it about these movies that you like so much? And I sat there and I'm like, it's hard to define, but I feel like these movies just not really so much because they look cool or because cool shit happens or there's good characters or there's lots of action. I feel like the themes of these 3 movies that they're dealing with, the morality they're dealing with, the fact that, that Star Wars Episode 4 in its essence is the classic like epic tale. I mean, if you break the elements of episode 4 down, it's the same story that's been told hundreds of not thousands of times over thousands of years.
It's the hero's journey.
It is. It's the classic hero's journey.
It's a boy who learns he has special powers, and then
he meets a wizard.
And the wizard gives him a sword, and he.
I'm staying quiet. I'm just, it's. But it is, and it's, and that story about a young boy who wants to, see the galaxy and feels like he is destined for more than what he currently is, and aspires and struggles to be that. I not only did I relate to that character. I relate to Luke Skywalker as a character in that movie as much now as I did when I was 7 years old. And I think everybody can. Everybody can feel. I think everybody to a degree feels like there's something I should be doing. There's something that I have a calling, and whether or not you're fulfilling that calling, or you haven't and you don't know what it is, people feel like they're capable of, especially at 7 or 8, people feel like they're capable of so much. And whether or not they live up to that or don't live up to that, who knows?
That's what all that stuff's about, though. I mean, when you're a kid, you have the whole world in front of you, and you're like, I could be a Jedi. I could fight with a lightsaber. I could fight evil. And that's what being a kid's all about.
Yeah. But I can sit and I can watch those movies and still have those exact same emotions. Almost like no time has passed, and I'm 7 years old feeling the same way. That I'm still making, or I still need to make my hero's journey. I still need to find my wizard, and I still need to, get my lightsaber.
So I guess the question I have for you is, because everything has a kind of a hiccup. Star Wars Christmas Special is one of those things.
Although the Star Wars Christmas Special did introduce the character of Boba Fett.
Okay.
So there's that. Boba Fett, first appearance was in the Star Wars Christmas Special. I had a friend that actually made money off of selling copies of that on eBay.
Oh, really?
He paid his rent for he paid all his bills for an entire month, and all he did was he had 2 VCRs, and he would copy the Star Wars Christmas Special onto tapes and then sell the tapes on eBay. Paid all his bills for an entire month. That's all he did.
Wouldn't be too bad of a deal.
I don't know if I should be saying that, out loud and for the internet to hear, but other people have done worse.
Wouldn't be the first time piracy's happened on the internet.
Exactly. That's me. Number 1 pick. I feel like it's obvious, but it's Star Wars.
Okay. I mean, picks 1 for both of us, I think, are pretty straightforward.
They usually are. I think I almost feel bad for the audience at some points, because, I think it's almost like, should they skip the first 10 minutes? Be like, okay, here's the draft. Okay, he's gonna pick the Turtles, and he's gonna pick Star Wars, and now we'll see what the other picks are.
Fast forward 20 minutes. Okay, now let's get this draft started.
Right.
All right. Well, my second pick, I was trying to figure out. This is a little tougher of a draft than some of the other ones, because it's like, okay, well, does this make me feel like a kid? Does this take me back to just being a kid? So I got a kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. But the next thing I'm going to pick is one of those that I watched it all the time as a kid. It was a Saturday morning show. I remember it coming on like TBS or USA in the morning sometimes and watching it. It's what I thought high school would be like. I think my mom bought some textbooks from a yard sale one time, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be just like these guys when they go to school." I carried them around all the time. For my second round pick, I'm going to go with the great show. I'm going to go with Saved by the Bell.
Oh my God. Good call.
Yeah. So this was like 91 to 96-ish. You could throw in the college years if you wanted to.
You could. The thing I found interesting with that show is my oldest has watched that show, and on some level can still, even though we're talking 20 years distance in time, like she can still find relatable elements.
I mean, it seems like
maybe
it holds
not
up.
necessarily the clothes, obviously, or the
Yeah.
fact that Zach's cell phone is the shape of a brick, or the hairstyle, but it's strange. It's strange that people today can watch, the kids today could watch that show and still find like relatable shit.
Well, the themes hold up. I mean, every kid goes through pretty much the growing pains of, trying to find your identity and, having a crush on the girl that doesn't have a crush on you and all that. I mean, all that stuff's very relatable.
Yeah, I mean, was that not our lives?
Oh, God, yeah. I was totally Screech. Every one of us wanted to be Zach Morris, but every one of us was actually Screech.
Yeah, we were. Or at least probably the people listening to our show.
Yeah. It's like, oh, of course Lisa Turtle's going to fall in love with me. That's just how it works.
Right?
It's like, can we just be friends that don't call each other or ever talk to each other? It's like our lockers are next to each other. They're not going to be for long.
I've gotten stuffed in it so many times.
I think that's how she shows her love.
But you're right. We did. We all wanted to be Zach Morris. Actually, when I was like in 4th or 5th grade, I took a page out of Zach Morris's playbook and I started selling stuff out of my locker.
Okay.
It was usually it was really all I had at that point because I was like 13. So all I really had was comic books. So that's what I sold out of my locker.
Did you get a good return on them, or were you selling them?
Wasn't bad. I mean, I could usually mark it up over cover price.
That's not a bad deal. I felt like you're saying that you'd be in the classroom and the teacher would be chewing you out and you just go, time out. Teacher's like, what the hell's going on, Richard? Time out.
And then I just look off into the distance and I'm like, I don't understand what this teacher's damn problem is.
Start doing a monologue.
Who are you talking to?
Their mom and dad coming to see the guidance counselor. You're sitting in there with them. They're like, we think something's wrong with Richard. Time out. What's the deal with parents? They just don't understand. Guidance counselor's like, he's getting his shows mixed up. He's done Saved by the Bell, then he's on Fresh Prince.
God, it's all over.
I think there's some Seinfeld in there. I don't know.
I mean, the guidance counselor's sitting there going all yada yada yada.
Oh God! What about that Kelly Kapowski? There's no Kelly Kapowski here.
And that's when the medication started.
And that's when the Smurfs showed up.
What was your favorite episode?
Oh man, what would have been my favorite episode? That's a tough one to think of right off the bat.
I actually got done. Was it last week? I just got done listening to Mark Paul Gosselaar was a guest on another podcast, and so it was the host. It was him and a girl that actually did a podcast where they watched Saved by the Bell episodes and then did commentary with them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And they were, and she kind of fanboyed out on him a little bit, and he was talking to, she was talking to him about episodes, and he was like, I honestly do not remember any of them. And not because I thought they were stupid or anything like that. I mean, you just got to remember we were filming like one episode a week, and they were all, gang shot and everything. And so you're in this mentality where you absorb a script and then you have to immediately forget it because you're doing a completely new script the next week.
I doubt he's probably seen any of those shows When's the last time he's probably watched a Saved by the Bell? It's probably been 20 years.
Oh, I know, probably.
If he's ever even seen a full episode.
Well, I'm sure he has. I found it funny that this girl was like, my favorite episode was the Screech's spaghetti sauce episode where you make us. He's like, I do not remember any of this.
I don't like to talk about Dustin Diamond. I don't know if you've seen the news recently. Not really doing very well.
Poor Screech. Yeah, at this point, we're all like, hey, at least we didn't turn out like Screech.
Yeah. So my second pick, I'm going to go with the great NBC Saturday morning show, Saved by the Bell.
That's good.
When the teacher pops a test, I know I'm in a mess, and my dog ate all my homework last night. Bow, bow.
Riding low in my chair, she won't know that I'm there. If I can hand it in tomorrow, it'll be all right. It's all right.
Oh, great theme song. That just takes me back right there.
I haven't watched an episode in years, and I still have that theme song in my head.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Number 2 pick for me. I'm going to go not with a show, not with a movie, and not with a video game, although it is a game. My number 2 pick, something that I got into, I was probably, first game I ever played, I was 12. And it was with my father. My father kind of took me along with it and helped me, understand the rules of it and everything like that. My number 2 pick, I'm going with the role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh.
Because there are moments in that game, I play it today, and there are moments where I'm, sitting around with a group of friends and there's something going on. It might be a battle. It might be a role-playing encounter. But there's moments where I am automatically transported back to when I was a kid playing the same game with friends. And I've even had moments where I've played or ran the exact same adventure that I did when I was, 13 or 14 with people, and I'm transported back. Dungeons and Dragons is a game that you're there, you're with your friends, and you're hanging out and you're chit-chatting and having a good time, and you're talking about, all sorts of shit, pop culture, movies, TV, Star Wars, the newest episode of Saved by the Bell, the Ninja Turtles, and everybody's hanging out and having a good time, and at the same time, your characters going through some sort of epic journey trying to defeat monsters and get some fucking gold.
Well, that's kind of like your version of like playing catch. It's like going out and throwing the ball around. And because I got into Dungeons and Dragons later, so it doesn't really take me back to being a kid. But, like you said, your dad introduced you to it. So it's like, hey, I'm going to go out and play catch with dad. But instead it's like, I'm going to go roll dice with dad.
That's a good point. I never really looked at it like that.
So, because I'm guessing like the sounds of the dice rolling and things like that probably bring you back to the first times you played.
It really did. It really does. And my dad was really, really good at it. He played it when I think he got into the game when he was, 15 or 16, and, he had all the books, and I think it was just kind of one of those things that like I stumbled on one day and I'm like, hey, what's this? And so I, read books cover to cover, and then I was like, I think I want to try this, and I brought it to him, and I was like, I think I want to try this. I don't know how it really works though. And he's like, oh, I'll show you how it works. And he wrote an adventure out, and I got like 2 or 3 of my friends to come along, and me and them sat around and we played this game, and I was instantly like, this is amazing. And it wasn't really, and I don't really know what it was. It was just, all of us sitting around, and there's a level of like, it's not really, it's kind of us versus the dungeon master, but at the same time, it's communal. I fell in love with it. Like 20 minutes into that first adventure, I was like, this is awesome. I was like, I'm this super badass dude, and I'm casting spells, and it's amazing.
So was it the storytelling, or was it your dad kind of like building this world that sucked you in, or was it just the whole thing?
I think it was. Honestly, I think it was the whole thing. It was the fact that because okay, I mean, I guess it's kind of a progression from watching movies like Star Wars and show television shows and things like that. That like now I get to play a part in a story that that is similar to stories that I was enamored with as a kid. Like now I get to make my own story and play a role in that story and actually shape that story. It just kind of takes it to the next level. So yeah, that's my number 2 pick. My number 2 pick is Dungeons and Dragons.
I think that's a good pick. I mean, like I said, we've played that a little bit together, and that it doesn't take me back to my childhood, but definitely whenever I get to play with you guys and come back home, it takes me right back to college, definitely. All right, so my third round pick, I'm going to go with something that is a little bit of a oddity for me. I'm not a big gamer, as you know. Like, I don't play too many video games. But this is one of the first systems that I ever played that, I mean, as a kid, it's like this thing is the coolest thing ever. I'm going to go with just the system in general. I'm going to go with the regular Nintendo.
Ooh, the Nintendo Entertainment System.
The NES. I remember my dad, I don't know if he just got...
Do you still have yours?
No, I got rid of that thing years ago. I think I sold it at a yard sale.
If you had the opportunity to buy one today as an adult, I'm not trying to sell you one. I'm just saying, like, you walk past a store that sells, whatever, and you saw a vintage NES console sitting there, would you be like, I'm going to pick this up?
I mean, if you're saying it's going to come with Super Mario Brothers 3, it's going to come with the Turtles game. It's going to come with Mike Tyson's Punch Out, maybe even Off Road or Road Rash, whatever that was called. Yeah, I'd definitely probably pick it up.
Okay.
Because those are games you could easily pick up and play for a little while.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember, because my dad isn't a big video game player, but I think this was one of those things that came out and everybody had to have one.
They did.
And I remember going to K's at it was dark out and I was sleeping. Like, I think Dad took us out of the beds and was like, fuck this shit. We're getting a Nintendo. I'm a man and I want a Nintendo. Driving in and running in and picking up a Nintendo and bringing it back home.
Which is funny because, I mean, you got to think at the time, I mean, the Nintendo was geared towards kids. And I think that, I mean, especially today and probably over the last 10 years or so, the demographic that video game companies try to hit is not 10-year-olds. It's the demographic they try to hit now is older. But I think the thing that was kind of missed is even in 1985 that there were older people that were like, I need a Nintendo. I want to sit and I want to play a fucking Nintendo.
And I don't think he ever really played that much because we had the track system, but it didn't work, or we broke it or something, or maybe it just annoyed everybody in the house to be running on that little mat. But I mean, I remember you had to blow on the cartridge. I remember the Turtle game. It would load, but then it'd skip and start over again. So you had to pop it out, blow it, put it back in.
Yeah.
There was just a ton of. And that's really the first game system, and probably the only game system that I spent a ton of time playing. It was like excited to run home and play.
I actually read somewhere that never actually did anything. That taking out the cartridge and blowing on it and then putting it back in, that never actually really did anything to help. I don't know why, and I don't know, because I did it and it worked, so I don't know what actually happened that made it work, but...
Yeah, it always seemed like that, and then like using a Q-tip, like a slightly damp Q-tip would always fix whatever issue I was having.
Yeah, I would blow on the cartridge, and then I would blow on the inside of the console, and then and then sometimes I would because you would put the cartridge in, and then you would push it down, and sometimes I would push it up and down a couple times. and it seemed like that would work.
Did you ever get like the Nintendo cleaning system that came with it?
No.
I remember us getting that at one point. Like you had to put it in for 20 minutes or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I never did that.
But I mean, my go-to game for that was Ninja Turtles and Mike Tyson. I love.
Did you get a Game Genie?
No, I never got a Game Genie.
I rented one once, and then I was like, oh my god, you just put these codes in, and then you can do anything.
So for my third round pick, I'm gonna go with the system, the Nintendo.
What? Okay, so you got the Nintendo, and the first game you had, of course, was Super Mario. What was the first game you actually bought?
I don't think I ever bought a game myself, but the first game I ever got as a gift was the Ninja Turtles game. Like I got that pretty quickly, like the first one.
Oh, that fucking game.
Oh, the damn. I don't think. I think as a kid, I only beat the damn part once in my life.
I would beat my thing is you would beat the dam and everything. Like I would get past the dam, and then, but by the time you did that and you got to the third level, then everybody was so beat up that you couldn't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody was so beat up from the dam level, which is what it was. It was a dam level. But everybody was so beat up by then that you lasted like 10 seconds by the time you got to the third level. Everybody's down on health. Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah. I remember trying to keep everybody as high of a health as you could just to get through that whole damn maze. And it was a pain in the ass.
That damn pain. That damn level. And then you go in the damn water. Try to dismantle all the damn bombs. All right, good pick. All right, let's see. Number 3. Okay. Number 3 for me, I'm going with a cartoon. It was a cartoon that came out. I was a bit. I wouldn't say that I was. Well, I was still a kid. I was probably 13, 14 when this came out. It's a cartoon that was based off of a movie, but the movie was based off a comic book. For my third round pick, I am going with Batman the Animated Series because it's fucking Batman.
So how old were you when that came out? Because I was like 91, 92.
The Tim Burton movie? I was...
No, the animated series.
The animated series came out in 91? Oh, God, I thought it was later. So I would have been 9. Wow. Yeah, for some reason I thought it was later. Because I remember being older, I thought, and watching it. But I guess not. Yeah, I can... There's episodes in Batman where I'm watching, I'm like, oh! I was like, look, it's Batman. Batman doing cool shit. Look, he's figuring this out. Oh, he's solving the crime.
When you see those episodes, can you remember like where you were when you first saw it?
Well, we only had one TV in the house, so it was, but yeah, it was one of those. I mean, it's like you said, you're, sitting on the floor and you got your head in your hands and you're just enamored with the screen because you're like, holy shit, it's fucking Batman. And it's not even like, oh, it's Batman. Because, I mean, I grew up with, the old Batman 66 series, Adam West and running around with a bomb in his hand trying to find a place to dump it. And it was campy. It was campy and it was a bit silly. But then this animated series comes out and you're like, Batman's not campy at all in this. Like, this is dark. Like, this is the Batman you know and love from the fucking comics where he's like all broody and not nice.
Yeah, this isn't your dad's Batman.
This ain't your dad's Batman.
Yeah, I know that was on, I think, Fox, if I remember right.
Let's see. It was a Warner Brothers cartoon. I don't know if it was on Fox.
It was Fox or ABC or something like that. I just remember whatever channel it was on, I didn't have it, so I never had a good chance to ever watch it.
Fox sounds right. It sounds right that it was on Fox. And Fox had a good lineup of cartoons too, because you had Batman, and then they had on Saturday mornings they had Spider-Man and the X-Men. And that Spider-Man cartoon, I mean, they just pulled that straight from the fucking comic.
Which I don't know why they don't do that. That's always seems like the right idea.
Well, I mean, I get it for like movies and stuff like that. You know, they're trying to. I mean, there's such a wealth of material. It's almost like trying to adapt a book to film. But with a cartoon, especially with a cartoon like that, like, yeah, I mean, why not? Which is exactly what they did. I mean, you look at the old Spider-Man cartoon that aired on Fox. Not only is the story pulled straight from the comic, but the art style is. I mean, Stan Lee, helped work on it, so the art style's pulled straight from the fucking comic. I mean, it's almost like it's literally watching a comic come to life, and that's how I felt with Batman. I still feel that way if I watch a Batman episode. I'm like, oh, it's Batman, and the smoke comes up, and you just see like the cowl with the eyes, and you're just like, oh, Batman.
Well, I always like the opening scene when I watched it recently, and you see him standing there, and you got the big long shadow, and him turning around and walking.
Dude, and then they pulled the music from the. It seemed like the music kind of came from the movie.
Yeah, it always seemed like it was really closely related. Like the car looked pretty similar, and I thought Tim Burton had some kind of push on that, but it seemed like it was built in that same universe.
Yeah, I would. You could say the cartoon was heavily influenced from the release of the original Batman movie, or not the original, but the Tim Burton Batman movie. Although you didn't see penguins with missile launchers in there, so
and that's why it failed.
Plus, you had the fucking. I mean, with the Joker. And then the Joker. See, it's all tying together because you had Mark Hamill as your Joker in Batman the Animated Series, and he was not nice.
No, he was not.
This wasn't, Cesar Romero just laughing maniacally and coming up with really witty puns. This was Mark Hamill like hitting people with a mallet, and then they never insinuate like people that got hit with the Joker gas, and they you find them like with the big smile on their face. They never say that they're dead, but you get that feeling. Like, they never actually come out and say, like, oh, he's killed these people. You know what I mean? They're laying there with a big shit-eating grin on their face. But they never actually come out and say they're dead. And honestly, I think that was intentional. I think they couldn't actually, like, kill people in the fucking cartoon. But yeah, like, when I was a kid, and I don't know, maybe my mature brain could handle it or whatever, but I honestly thought, I'm like, well, they're dead. Like, they're laying there and they got this big shit-eating grin on their face. Like, they're dead. But I guess the intention was that they're not dead. They're just frozen in this, super creepy smile.
Batman will save them, right, Dad? Yeah. That's Batman saved them.
Yeah, he saved them all, son. Okay. That's good. Because if they actually died, I don't know if I can handle it.
Life's not that rough, right, Dad? Everybody lives and is happy. Oh, God. Laura!
Was Grandma smiling? Gail! He's got a terrible concept of life and death.
Here, let's make him watch Steel Magnolias. See if he gets it then.
This is truth, son. This is truth. You watch this. This is truth. So there's my number 3 pick, going with Batman the Animated Series.
All right, a good pick, one that I wouldn't choose because as a kid, like I didn't really watch that show because I didn't have it. We didn't have the luxury of this thing called Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
We had these things called bunny ears.
Oh yeah, you always wonder, like, how do people in their 20s, like, get girls to come over to sleep with them? Because you didn't have Netflix then, so what'd you do? Be like, hey, let's watch VHS tapes and chill?
Like, hey, I got the today's newspaper. Why don't you come over and read it with me?
We'll just hang out.
So for my 4th round pick, I'm going to go with, I think this would probably be the show that defined my interest in horror movies and like scary stories. This was a Nickelodeon show, which when you think about it, it's kind of odd that Nickelodeon aired these things. And about a year and a half ago, Netflix or Amazon Prime, one of the two, started re-airing these.
Oh, wow. I didn't know this.
Richard, I'm going to go with the group The Secret Society.
The Midnight Society.
Midnight Society. And I'm going to go with Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That was a good show.
There's there's an episode where there's like a computer virus that somehow gets out of the computer, which I loved. One of the first episodes, it's a clown episode where the kid's going through this maze and he steals the clown's nose, and the clown comes and like,
oh, I remember that. Oh, that one was so good.
oh, and I watched it recently and it creeped me the fuck out. I mean, they're for
yeah,
kids.
I could see that. Like I'm actually thinking about it. Like if I sat and watched one of those episodes, especially that clown one, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I could see myself going, ooh, this, yeah.
Yeah, I'm keeping lights on.
Oh yeah, that would totally take me back.
And the acting was a little hokey, but I mean, the stories were creepy. I mean, like the cigar killing clowns coming after this kid.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they just had a bunch of cool little stories here and there. There was, they went all over the spectrum. You know, vampires, werewolves, clowns, ghosts. I mean, it was just all over the place, and that was on for like 5 seasons.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a televised version of Goosebumps before there was Goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would honestly go and say that show, Are You Afraid of the Dark, on just a creepy level, I would say it's creepier than some of those Goosebumps books. I would say it's creepier than all the Goosebumps books, actually.
Definitely. I mean, there was no like kid darkness humor to it. It was, I mean, there were scary stories. There were campfire stories that as a 8 to 12-year-old, if you sat and watched it at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, you're going to be a little creeped out going to bed.
Yeah. Did you watch it with the lights off? I always watched it with the lights off.
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think I probably had the lights on.
Because it came on, I think it came on at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, I'd watch it in the dark.
Yeah, I remember being at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
You almost like dare your friends to watch it with you?
Well, I didn't have any friends, so I had to watch it by myself.
Oh.
Mom, can my friends come over? Mom's over there going, sure, Sean.
Wherever you want. Go, I'll call him right now.
John, his friends are coming over. Yeah, I bet they are.
Yeah, he thinks he has a social circle.
Hey, sissy, did you hear my friends are coming over? She's like, go away. I hate you.
You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you.
Thanks, sissy. Love you.
I'm going to call him right now. I'm going to call Peter, Tom, and Dave, Steve.
Sean, you're just making up names again. No, I'm not. They go to a different school. You don't know them.
Because I only have out of town friends. These people here don't get me.
I don't understand how you're my brother. I love you too, sissy.
That's just you sitting around with a bunch of potatoes with faces drawn on them. Ooh, this is so scary. Don't you think so, Teresa?
Damn it, Laura, I was wanting tater tots tonight and he's got them all in the bag. Don't yell at him, John. Well, the kid's not right. One day I'm going to have a radio show. Damn it, Laura, let's go get a Nintendo so we can lock him in his room.
Oh. Feel like we just pulled back the curtain a little bit.
You wanted childhood nostalgia. You got it.
I don't know whether to laugh at the end of this draft or cry.
Oh, my neck hurts. So my 4th round pick, I'm going to go with the TV show Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That's a good show. God, I love that show. All right, my 5th round pick is, it's also not a show. It's not a movie. It's not a game. Well, it is, but not. My 5th round pick is at an actual place. And it's a place that I feel like I'm kind of dating myself by saying it, but this is the place that I would go and I would feel at home. It's a place that I can still walk in the door today and have moments. Well, if there's any around, there's a place I can walk in today and have moments where I'm like, I was like, oh look, they still have this. Oh, they still have this, and I am instantly transported back to when I was a kid. For my 4th round pick, my childhood nostalgia is going to the arcade.
I knew it.
Who didn't love the arcade?
I remember, the mall that we both grew up in. It was always we go to the mall. I'm like, oh, Mom, can we please go to the arcade?
Please.
On very, very rare circumstances, I would. And like when they gave you those Mom gave you that $5 bill.
And you were like, oh, gold mine.
It's like, no, I'm not just getting 4 tokens. I'm getting 25 tokens.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be able to play 5 more games.
Who didn't love the arcade? And like I said, you could, I mean, if you can find one, you can walk in there and it instantly puts you back. I've been to an arcade with my kids, and like I'm playing stuff and they're playing stuff, and we'll do air hockey, and it's awesome. Who doesn't love the fucking arcade? The town we grew up in, actually, when I was a kid, there were 2 arcades. There was one in the mall, and then someone had built another one that was like on the other side of town, and it didn't stay open very long. But that one was just as awesome. And the one in the mall constantly got new stuff, and they would take out old cabinets. I'm like, oh man, I wish they had. But I guess they went to the other one, because I walk in the other one. Oh, they got this game, and I still do that today. I'll walk into an arcade, and if there's something there that's like, that's been sitting there forever, you're like, oh, they still have this. And you go and you start playing it, and you're like, this is just like when I was 8 or 12, or I was still going to the arcade when I was like 15, 16.
Well, there's 2 things I remember the most about arcades. One was the tickets.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played many of those games, but you get a shit ton. You get like 100 tickets, or you try to get 1,000 tickets.
I was never big on the tickets, and I think that's just because I felt like there was something that I really, really want, and then I would never I would never have enough tickets for it. It always seemed like it was always just an exercise in my failure. So I just I was like,
well, I always liked that. I'd be like, Mom, I really want to get this thing. I need like 1,000 tickets. She's like, well, we could probably buy it for a lot cheaper. I'd be like, oh, so can we go buy it instead? She's like, God, no. Go away.
I ain't get enough tickets. I'm going to win it. And I'll show them.
She's like, oh, yeah? Where are you going to get that money? Well, I don't know. Maybe the tater tots will chip in with me.
But I will say, when it comes to the ticket thing, like, I'll go to the arcade now, and the kids will do the same thing. Like, oh, let's get, we'll get these tickets, and then we can get this thing. And I'll look at the stuff that they have, and I'm like, I could buy a bag of those for like $2, but it costs 80 tickets. How does this work? What weird economy do we live in?
We just played this game for an hour and got 2 tickets. What the fuck? And the other thing I always remember is, do you remember sometimes when they were selling video games?
I was going to say that. Okay. And you'd walk in and you would see the arcade cabinets, and up above it would have, buy this now for, it would say like, $2,000 or something like that. And you'd always go like, and you were a kid and you were like, when I'm older and I have enough money, I am buying so many of these.
I'm going to have an arcade in my house. I'm going to play video games all the time.
Every kid had that fantasy. Like, I'm going to buy 3 or 4 arcade. I'm going to have an arcade. I'm going to get rich. I'm going to make money selling comic books out of my locker, and I'm going to buy an arcade, and I'm going to put it in my house.
And you know what stops all that, Richard? Puberty.
and then girls show up.
Yep. I'm going to make all this money and then spend it on these girls. Yep. And
where'd all my money go?
Not to video games, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. 33 years old, I still don't have a damn arcade game in my house. At this point, I'd settle for just like one cabinet.
It doesn't even have to work. I just want the cabinet.
You just take all, just take the control boards out of it. I don't care.
Why does Dad always go to that Mortal Kombat cabinet and just start pressing buttons and start crying?
He screams, "Finish him." He's talking about himself.
Dad, what's wrong? You kids is what's wrong.
Finish me. Finish me. I'm a failure. All I have is this cabinet.
You walk away and your son plugs it in and it turns on.
Damn it. Man, it's ruining my childhood. So my 4th round pick, the arcade. Who doesn't love an arcade?
It's a good pick.
And you know what? And they're going the way of the dinosaur, and that's sad.
The one in our mall still there, isn't it?
As far as I know, it is still there. I haven't been to the mall for a while, but I'm almost positive it's still there. Last time I was there, I took the kids there.
Gotcha. All right, so 5th round. I'm going to go, this is something that I feel like a lot of kids get into. I don't know if you were or not, but this is, this was on TV. This is something that I always wanted to go to a live event and never did. I wanted to be one of these things when I was a kid. You go around, act like you got your championship belt, your body slamming pillows.
Oh my God, you actually stole something from me.
Good versus evil. There was a wrestler that had my name. I'm going to go with, just in general, I'm going to go with wrestling.
Yeah. Because, I mean, this is something that I loved when I was a kid. I was, I was a Hulkamaniac. I was a 6-year-old Hulkamaniac. I don't know. Was it just the era? Like, because I feel like kids, I'm not going to be that old guy that's like kids today, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like kids today don't watch a lot of wrestling. And I don't know if that's just because when we were kids, it was on TV, and it was on TV in a big bad way. And I mean, it still is now, but it doesn't seem, I mean, it's kind of on like, an offshoot network and stuff like that. I mean, it was big business when we were kids.
Yeah. I mean, the 90s was big for wrestling.
Well, I'm even talking about the 80s. In the 80s, it was huge.
Well, I mean, yeah, Hulkamania came out and that kind of pushed it, but then you had the Attitude Era with WWF. I was a huge Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels fan.
Yeah.
You go around super kicking your sister.
I fell out of it, but then I came back. I got back into it when I was probably 16. And yeah, Shawn Michaels all the way. I'm totally with you.
Yeah, it was DX. I remember body slamming your sister, jumping off the couch. I'd get up super early on Saturday mornings to watch the WWF blast off,
Yeah.
It's like your He-Man type characters, it's these bigger than life things, good versus evil. You know who the bad guy is, you know who the good guy is. You have your guy you root for. It took me a long time to come to like grips that it was fake. Like I held on for as long as I could that it was real.
Yeah, I did too. I really did too. Even when I was like 16 and 17, I'm like, well, I mean, some of it's staged, but I mean, you gotta admit some of that stuff,
the championship fights, they really fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's all. I mean, they choreograph some of it, but in the championship matches, that's real because that's for a belt.
Yeah, I mean, I always had that dream to be that championship wrestler. You have that belt, and there's always like everybody can do, because I always talked about Shawn Michaels being the small guy, and he won the championship belt, so I could do that too someday.
Yeah, about that. What if you can't do that, Sean?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna go with my 5th round pick. I'm gonna go with wrestling.
All right, that actually was on my that was gonna be my next pick. So, I'm kind of scrambling now. Let's see. All right. So my 5th round pick, I'm going with. This is something that went over multiple platforms. All right. This is something that was a cartoon. It was also a very popular toy line. It then developed into cartoon movies and also kind of dipped its toe into video games. I am going with something that I constantly played with as a kid and watched incessantly. I am going with G.I. Joe, real American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
I think the cartoon was kind of over by the time I was old enough to really get into cartoons. I never really had any GI Joes.
Oh my God, I had tons. I had so many. I had a bunch. That was when I was probably like 10 or 11. That was my primary toy. I had a bunch of Legos when I was a kid. For Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that, I would get these like Lego play sets, and there were usually castles and stuff like that. And I had 3 or 4 different play sets, and I had a friend of mine that lived down the street from me, had a bunch of G.I. Joes, like a bunch of G.I. Joes, and he wanted Legos. So in a unprecedented move, I traded this kid all of my Legos for all of his G.I. Joes. And I got to say that my parents were not that happy with me because I don't know if you know this, Legos are kind of expensive.
More so than
especially when you go to buy play sets.
Okay. So these weren't just like just random
Yeah, this
Legos.
wasn't just like a bucket, the bucket o Legos that you would get. Yeah, these were actual, with the instructions, take this piece and put it here, and they have pictures with numbers next to them, like step 1, put this here, step 2, put this on top of this. And yeah, I had play sets. And those and it really hasn't changed over the years. I look at Legos to buy for my son. They're fucking expensive as shit.
So like this kid that you traded him, he's like a famous architect now. Your dad's like, Gail, he's just still doing a homoerotic show with his friend.
Shouldn't have traded off those Legos. He's a lawyer now, actually, that friend.
That never gets brought up.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You're like, Dad, look at my G.I. Joe. It's like, oh yeah, would you trade that to that lawyer kid?
Yeah. He traded off his Legos. And now his friend's in law school.
But Dad, look, they're fighting. It looks like they're having gay sex. What, Dad? Nothing.
He just got a bunch of dudes, Gail. There's like 2 women on that show. Yeah, I had tons of so I made that trade. I got tons of GI Joes. My parents weren't that happy with me because, like I said, those things are pricey. I was saying I was looking at Lego playsets for my son, and they have playsets like they have the Millennium Falcon. Like you can go and you could buy a Lego Millennium Falcon. Yeah, $150.
That's pricey.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the standard. Those play sets can get, $100, $120.
And you basically build it and you can't do anything with it, right? It's just
you build it and it's, that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure you could, take it apart and then use the Legos to build other stuff, but you go through all that effort and spend all that money and you have the Millennium Falcon. I mean, why the fuck would you take it apart at that point? I mean, that's my theory.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of effort.
Maybe that's why I didn't become a lawyer.
It's a lot of work. You got to go and argue. It's like, screw that.
I could do that and put it on the internet and make little to no money. Usually no.
Well, when you look at the time, I mean, your lawyer friend's probably spending, 18 hours a day at his law firm. We only spend about 2 hours doing this.
Yeah. That doesn't make me feel better.
Oh,
but I loved the cartoon when I was a kid. And then it crossed over all these worlds in my brain because then you had Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, yeah.
Who was a G.I. Joe. Or no, he was a wrestler. And then he was in G.I. Joe.
Oh, I forgot all about that, yeah.
What the fuck? And it like broke that fourth wall, and you're like, that's This the Sergeant Slaughter. He's real.
Everything's connected.
Oh my God. Universes are colliding. And then they had cartoon movies, and you had evil terrorist organizations, and
you had movies.
well, the movies came way later, so they don't count. At least not in this house. You hear that, kids? Not in this house.
Mom, Dad's yelling about G.I. Joe movies again.
He's just mad because he's not a lawyer.
Go ask him to draw you up a contract and see what happens.
And then Amanda calls up her mom. Cindy, he's mad. He's angry about his lack of fulfilling anything meaningful again.
Just have him talk about Star Wars. You know that always centers him.
He calls up. Yeah, this should call it my mom. Hell, he's talking about the lawyer thing again.
Ask him about Tatooine, and he'll be all right.
It works. Sorry to say, but it works. So yeah, so there we go. Pick number 5, the real American hero, G.I. Joe. I'm sure it was instilling, like, I'm sure that was a plant to instill this, sense of patriotism in me. And you know what? Totally worked.
Yeah, truth, justice, and the American way, and sell a bunch of toys. That's what it was about. Those were 30-minute commercials, man.
That's capitalism, and that's America.
All right, my 6th round pick. We've actually already talked about this thing, and you may have been too old when these were coming out, but back in the day, like all the kids my age had to have these. Do you remember those little?
Tell me you're gonna say Power Rangers.
Power Rangers? No, I'm not gonna say Power Rangers. You remember those little paper pamphlets you got where you could take them home, and your mom would be like, "Okay, well, we'll buy you this book and this book."
Like the book fair. They still do that.
Yeah. So every time that came out, I always begged for these books. And there's a movie just coming out with Jack Black, and this is what got me thinking about it. And like when I saw the trailer for it, it took me back to being a kid. I'm gonna go with the Goosebump books
by R.L. Stine.
R.L. Stine.
Okay, you are right. I was a bit too old for the Goosebumps books. I think I missed that window by about 3 years.
Yeah, I think I read them up to about the 5th grade, and they came out like when I was in about 1st grade or so.
Yeah.
Like none of the stories were really super scary. They were kind of like campy, horror campfire stories that, you tell it like a Boy Scout type thing. Like not super scary, nobody freaks out, but just kind of has like a twist moment at the end.
Yeah, yeah. They came out with a show, a TV show based on the books. Did you watch the show?
I don't think so. It was only out for a little bit, but at least that I remember.
So they weren't super scary, but I mean, so they were kind of like almost like, like little Twilight Zone episodes where they weren't terribly scary, but they had like some sort of twist. It was one big M. Night Shyamalan kind of thing.
Yeah, like the one I can remember was I can't remember what the title of it was, but like these kids. Oh, and spoiler alert. These kids go to like their aunt and uncle's house, and their aunt and uncle aren't there. I think it's werewolves or something like that. It's like trying to get into the house, and they're like carrying a note around this whole time, like trying to figure out what to do. And they escape the house and get away. And when they're in the woods, they finally open up the note, and it basically says, "Hey, stay in the house. These beast things won't break into the house."
Okay.
And that's where it ends. It's like, oh shit, they're outside and they shouldn't be. So it's kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was that kid that was. I'll tell you a series of books that creeped me the fuck out when I was a kid. They weren't the Goosebumps books. It was a series of books. I want to say it was oh shit, what was it? What were they called? Scary Stories.
Okay.
Scary Stories that tell in the dark. It was all the thing that was fucked up. Like I read these books when I was probably in like 4th grade. These books were creepy as shit. Like these weren't Goosebumps book stories. These were fucked up, weird ass stories, and they were all based on like urban legends and shit like that.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god, I could probably read those stories today, and I'd be like, that's a little creepy. Like it's almost like shit you would like those creepy stories you would read on the internet today.
Yeah.
Oh, they were so good. So I mean, I can't relate to the Goosebumps books that well because I still have to this day. I've never read a Goosebumps book. I think my kids have. I think my son's read some and he's liked them.
Yeah, I think what I like the most about them is, I mean, I didn't really know anybody that was into comic books, but that was really my first kind of, here's book 1, here's book 2, here's book 3, because they numbered them. So it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
got to get them all kind of thing.
Were they all? But they were all separate stories.
Yeah, they're all separate. There was a few that were like, I think Night of the Living Dummies or something like that. It's like there's Night of the Living Dummies 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So some of them had multiple parts, but yeah, for the most part, they were just individual stories.
I see.
So yeah, so my 6th round pick, I'm going to go with R.L. Stein's Goosebump books.
Let's see. For my 6th round pick, I'm going to go with a video game that I still own and still play occasionally. This is a game when I was younger, I had a lot of games. This game came out for the original PlayStation. And I still own it. It's because, you get older. I wasn't one of those kids that would get older and then, trade games off or sell them off or anything like that. I actually managed to hold on to these games. This is one game that I've made sure that I kept. The game and my 6th round pick that I can still play. And even though I've played through it, I don't know how many times, at least 3 or 4 times, I still find it entertaining. I still feel like, the first time I played it. I'm going with the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And I don't know if this is a game you've ever played.
No, I've never played it.
Okay, and all the have you played any of the Castlevania games?
I have not.
Okay, so in the Castlevania series, you play a vampire hunter by the name. Usually, each game is you're a different person, but you're a member of the same family. It goes the name of the family is Belmont. So you're a vampire hunter. It's you're either Simon Belmont or Trevor Belmont. And this started on the old Nintendo Entertainment System, the original Castlevania released there. Castlevania 1, 2, and 3 were on the Nintendo. And you were a Belmont, and your goal was to infiltrate Dracula's castle and kill him.
Okay.
So then in Symphony of the Night, it was something totally different. In Castlevania 3, you got the chance to pick up companions that would travel with you, and you could actually change into these different characters, and each character had different powers. One of the characters was Dracula's son by the name of Alucard, which is Dracula spelled backwards.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Very clever. So in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, you are playing Alucard. You're not a Belmont. You're Alucard. And you are going into Dracula's castle, and you're going to kill Dracula as Alucard. And you run into a Belmont. I think it's Richter Belmont in this game, who was the character you play in the previous Castlevania game that was out for like the Super Nintendo. So in this game, you're Alucard, you're Dracula's son, and it's still a fun game to play. Like, you're traveling to different parts of the castle, and you're fighting all the boss monsters are all variants of like the classic Hollywood monsters. You're fighting a Frankenstein monster and a mummy monster and things like that. And you find out that Richter Belmont, you're guessing through some form of mind control, has become the lord of the castle. There's no Dracula. You're fighting Richter Belmont. So now you're Dracula's son fighting against Richter Belmont, who's the lord of the castle. And so at the end of the game, you kill him and, everything's all good or whatever. But that's not really the case. Because as you go through the castle, you find all these different items that can get you to different parts of the castle. So if you do enough exploring, you find these glasses. And when you find these glasses and you go to fight Richter Belmont for the final time, you see that there's a little globe above his head. And if you destroy the globe, then you find out that he is being controlled by an evil wizard who lives in a completely different castle, which is the exact same castle that you just completely went through, but everything is upside down. So you can play through this game and beat it, but the thing is that you've actually only completed 50% of the game. And you have to find these little secrets to get to the other castle and fight all these new bosses and all this new shit to actually 100% get to the very end of the game and fight Dracula. So that's my 6th round pick, is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Game, I fucking loved it. And like I said, I still own it. I still play it. I still have the disc.
So I mean, is it just you started playing that game when you were a kid? That's what brings you kind of back to it?
It is. It's, I like I said, I've played through and beaten it to 100% completion at least 3 times, but I'll still go back to it because it gives you that, like, you still feel like you're 12 years old going through that game again. Like, the story is still interesting. The characters are still interesting. The boss fights are still, just as challenging. Good game. Very good game.
Cool.
That's me, 6th round pick. And now we're coming up to you. And how are you going to round off this list you have?
All right, so I left this one because I figured you would not take it at all. So my money shot pick, this is of the two of us, I'd probably say I'm probably the more sports oriented person.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not your typical.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'm not the typical guy. Like, I don't follow I don't follow basketball, hockey. I don't follow every sport just to follow sports. And I'm not going to be the guy at the sports bar talking about the football game from the night before. But there's one sport that I absolutely love, and I actually dragged you to one of these ball games because in Texas we were near a ball field that I've never been to, so we had to go.
And you know what? I gotta say, like, I've been to a baseball game, and the game you took me to, second baseball game I've ever been to. The first one I went to, not that fun a time. I did not have that fantastic an experience. It was hot. I just didn't have any fun. I went with you. I actually had a decent time.
Yeah.
I actually did have fun. And not only that, I was also like halfway into the game. Like, I was watching the game and found it interesting.
And that's my 7th round pick is just going to baseball games, because nothing makes me feel more like a kid than going to a baseball game. That's the sport I absolutely love playing. It was one of those things when I was a kid growing up. I'm like, I loved it so much. Like, I was, I'd be playing ball games. I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be a professional baseball player because nothing could be better than this.
That's awesome.
Obviously, that didn't pan out.
No, obviously not.
But anytime I go to a ball game, some people will be like, oh, so it's just, going and watching the game. No. I love getting there right before the game starts. So when they're taking batting practice, the guys are, throwing the ball back and forth and getting warmed up. It takes me back to the days when I played in high school and grade school and junior high, and, going out with the guys being there, throwing the ball back and forth, taking batting practice, the getting all the stuff together, getting your batting gloves set up. And I get a little bit of that when I sit down and watch it on TV, but nothing like when you're at a game. You got the grass, the crowd, you hear the ball. It's there's nothing more than that brings me back to being like a 12-year-old kid.
Man, I feel like this should have been your second pick because this is it's the thing for you. I'm not saying I get it, but like, I don't know, like, I'm listening to you talk about it, I'm like, wow, if that's a thing.
Yeah, if it was, if you were into sports at all, this would have been my first or second pick. I know you're not, so I kind of figured you wouldn't go with anything with, whenever I see football, it takes me back to being a kid. So I knew this was probably pretty safe.
All mine are Star Wars and video games.
But I was an okay baseball player in high school.
Did you score a lot of baskets?
I scored a ton of baskets.
Yay!
They had a special position for me called water boy. There's only one
put
on
it
the
in
team.
and you were like 7 points. Who kicks the field goals?
But I mean, you know this. I think it's somewhere on the internet somewhere. But I did hit a walk-off home run in high school, so I've been saving this up for 73 episodes. But I mean, all that aside, is
that still on the Wikipedia page? There's a Wikipedia page somewhere.
I think it got taken down.
Oh, yeah. You gotta cite that shit. You gotta cite it, otherwise it gets taken down.
But I mean, I got a little bit of that feeling when I used to play softball, but still, it's not. And that's what I get excited one day when I have a kid, being able to take them to those things. And I didn't really get to go to a ball game till I was about 14 or 15, so I was a little bit older. But the first time I went to a ball game, but even today, still going. It's just so exciting to walk in through those big doors. You see you're walking through the console or the entrances and everything. And then finally, it's just like bam, there's the field.
Yeah. And you could, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you could use this podcast as a site. You could cite the podcast as a way for you to get that back on Wikipedia.
I'm going to do that right after this. But
I'm glad I could help.
The podcast is done. I've reached what I needed to do with this thing.
And I'm spent.
So my seventh round and money shot pick, I'm going to go with going to a baseball game.
That's sweet. Did you go the first game you ever went to, did you go with your parents or?
No, and that's kind of the thing that through this whole draft we kind of joked around, but I went with one of my dad's friends. So even that I didn't really get to share with my dad or my mom, which kind of sucks.
Okay.
Because my parents neither one of them really into sports.
Okay.
That's kind of always. I mean, you're really the first person that I found that has the same kind of likes and hobbies that I do. Because my dad was more of a hunter and an outdoors car guy, which I wasn't.
I
was more of a movie and baseball fan.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my dad was into football, so I mean, I would say that out of all the sports, that's the one that I'll gravitate towards. But yeah, it seemed like I kind of more emulated my father, because he was, he watched Star Wars and played D&D and all that shit. And
yeah, my dad was just more of like, Laura, he's crying over a league of their own again. It's women playing baseball.
They even say there's no crying in it. He's not listening to the movie at all.
Where are you going, John? I'm going outside.
Clean my gun. That code for masturbation. Yeah. What I do in the garage is my business, Laura.
That's awesome. All right, my seventh round pick, going to baseball games.
My seventh round pick is disappointing my parents. No. For me, number 7, it's a movie. It is a movie. And I know it's a movie that I've talked about. I've talked about on this podcast. I've talked about to friends. I've talked about to family. I've forced people to watch. This is a movie that we have actually watched together. And if you go back through our episode catalog, you can find us talking about it. My 7th round pick, of course, a movie that I can watch and always still feel like it's the first time. Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Yeah, such a good movie.
So
I just got probably like last month. I picked up the Blu-ray. I found it on Blu-ray, and
was our commentary on there?
No, it wasn't, unfortunately. But I found it on Blu-ray, and I watched it with they had a commentary with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. They do the commentary together, and they talk about like how in the movie, because they did Escape from New York together, and it was talking about like in Escape from New York, you try to kind of emulate Clint Eastwood, just like with your voice and like the way you carry yourself. Like, how to go for this movie? He's like John Wayne. This was in so in Escape from New York, he's like, I want to be Eastwood. I want to be like Clint Eastwood in the old Western movies. But in Big Trouble in Little China, he was John Wayne. Like that's like you could even hear it in the way he talks. Like the way he like the timbre of his voice and the way he changes it and the way he carries himself. He's trying to be John Wayne.
Yeah, I can see it.
So I watched the commentary track. I watched deleted scenes. I didn't even know there were deleted scenes.
Anything good to add to the movie?
No, not really. Like everything that got cut, I could totally see why it got cut. It was all just kind of like stuff that didn't need to be there. It was all extemporaneous shit. Watched the original trailer for it. Oh, it was so good. It was like one of those old fucking it's one of those old kind of trailers where it's like, Jack never Jack Burton is a man that never bought into Hocus Pocus.
It's like the most interesting man in the world.
Until a trip to San Francisco. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. My money shot. I feel like I've said if you want to hear more about that movie, there's just click back to. I feel like it's something that I mention every like 3 or 4 episodes. Like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this movie.
Cool. Well, I'll run through our picks real quick. So for me, my first round pick, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. Pick number 2, I have Saved by the Bell. Third pick, I have Nintendo. Fourth pick, I have Are You Afraid of the Dark? Fifth pick, I have wrestling. Sixth pick, I have Goosebump books. And seventh round pick, I have going to a baseball game. And for Richard, I have the first pick is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Second pick Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh.
Third pick Batman the Animated Series. Fourth pick the arcade.
Oh, who loves an arcade?
Fifth pick G.I. Joe.
He's a real American hero.
Sixth pick Castlevania.
Yeah,
And
Symphony of the Night.
Seventh round pick, we have the Pork Chop Express and Big Trouble, Little China.
Yeah.
One of the only picks I had left over, I had Napster as a pick that brings me back as a kid.
Okay.
That's how I found all my music back in the day.
Yeah, Napster. I was pretty old for Napster, so I couldn't really. I was probably like 17 when Napster kind of hit big. Let's see. My also rans. I had the game Final Fantasy VII, which another one that I still own. I had a computer game that I rebought called The Secret of Monkey Island, which is a fucking awesome computer game if you ever get a chance to play it. I had the Silver Surfer. That was my favorite comic book character when I was a kid. I had He-Man, of course.
Of course.
He-Man was on my list, and I was just kind of moving it around, and I ended up leaving it off. I'm not sure why. I don't remember why I slipped in to take its place. I might put the arcade in its place. But yeah, He-Man. I mean, fucking He-Man. I watched some of because they have that new He-Man cartoon. I watched some of that. It's actually pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They go into like the origin. They go into like a lot of the origin story, a lot more of like where He-Man's power comes from and like where the sword comes from and the history of Castle Grayskull, and yeah, it's kind of cool. So yeah, that's my also ran.
Cool. Well, I guess, do you have any closing thoughts for our childhood nostalgia draft?
I think that everyone has moments where you want to feel like a kid again. And I think it's easy for me because I have stuff like Star Wars and, Dungeon. I think that I have a lot more moments where I feel like a kid than some people. But I think everyone, like, there's all sorts of television shows and movies and stuff like that. Everybody watched them when they were a kid. I'll tell you what, go back and watch that shit again. Because what's wrong with reclaiming a little bit of happiness that you had when you were younger? And that's it. That's my closing thought.
Brings a tear to my eye.
As well it should.
All right, well, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Go to our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe and leave a review on iTunes and Stitcher.
And don't forget to check us out on the Pod Bros Network.
The podcast site network on the internet that has all kinds of nostalgic childhood memories.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're all kids that disappointed our parents.
And if you're in the need for some headbuds, go to tweakedaudio.com. Use the promo code LOBARMY and you'll get 33% off. All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
No.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver. Laura! He's saying eat the beaver again.
He's making innuendo.
Where's the damn tater tots?
I don't think he's ever seen one.